How many people are going to want to sign up and pay thousands of dollars?
Oh, that's the worst college education I've ever heard of in music.
The future of music.
The future of music. The future of music.
The future of music.
The future of music.
The Future of Music podcast.
Hey there, as always, as usual, I guess I could say on top of that, to the Future of Music podcast. We're here. It's me, Ryan Withrow. We've got Jonathan Boyd, and we are here to show you how to survive and, wait for it, thrive in the future of music. As always, John, it's so good to see you. I'm not as burned this time. It all peeled away. So yeah. So I look like I just was horrible at hygiene and self-care for a while as I just, the burn just fell off. But I'm here, and we've gone from being burned to having to wear a winter hat because it's cold here in Texas for some reason. But man, it's never cold where you're at. I'm kind of jealous. So it's
Never
good to be
cold, man.
here. I'm excited to be here. And this is a topic that I'm surprised actually hasn't come up
Yes.
a lot in our conversations. We've kind of touched on it, but this is the first time that I've really seen a big focus coming to what we're going to talk about today. So why don't you inform everybody a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so in general, schools, right? So we grew up in an era, and this might sound kind of crazy, but it's true. If you look back through history, it wasn't always like this. But we grew up in an era where everybody pretty much went to school, right? You go to primary school or high school or whatever, and then eventually, more recently, a lot of people have been going to college, and it's kind of the norm these days. But now we're starting to see a change. So specifically, obviously, in terms of music, we know that music has always been taught traditional way, like you go learn how to read music and you play trombone or something like that. But now I think the schools are starting to get a little bit of FOMO about all of this music technology coming out, and they're trying to adapt and change their curricula to, talk about some of the things that we have been talking about on this show. And the question is, are they going to be any good at it? Is it worth it? Are they going to be able to keep up? All those things we're going to dive into and talk about what is the future for schools and colleges in the future of music.
And I'm a little upset at you because before this, I was asking if it's curricula or curriculum, and you just went with one. You just owned it. So I'm a little jealous that you were the first one to bring it up. But don't be so jealous if you feel like you're missing out on the episodes. So click like, click subscribe, and click the alert bell so that you are alerted at every single video. Make sure you follow on your favorite podcast platform, and let's get into it, man. So I, as you know, went to college. I was into the whole music world of college that I am clearly using to make millions today. No, not at all. In fact, within I think the first year of graduating, I had to go get a sales job. That was what happened. So for me, I think I have a little perspective, and we'll talk about this later as we go. And you probably have a very different perspective as well as a lot of people out there. But the high level here is that the University of Maine has announced that they are launching a brand new music technology program as one of the items they're offering in their degrees and their education. It is intended to further complement the popular existing music program that they have. They're offering an innovative music technology degree program. It's a Bachelor of the Arts in Music Technology. It's designed to empower the next generation of musicians and artists with innovative tools and skills to navigate the evolving landscape of the music industry. Now, this specific program is structured to equip students with a diverse set of skills, going from interactive performance, utilizing other facilities as well, including software within the facilities of the school that they could take with them into their home studios and all of that fun stuff. But the quote is, students are learning from the best, gaining insights into the latest trends and technologies shaping the music industry. So let's first start with my initial shock here, which is, I know we've talked about all of these big organizations and tech companies who are getting into the AI trend, the music AI, the generative AI stuff. They're starting to pick up on these. They're getting music generation technology. Companies you'd never thought would ever invest in something like that. We've talked about that a ton, about all of these large companies starting to get their hands in it. Now we're starting to see education sources at universities are starting to go, oh, well, maybe we should update some things here because this is clearly
Sounds
something
about
to stay. Yeah, this is
right.
something that's here to stay. And obviously, we need to incorporate it. Took them long enough, I would say, to realize that that was a potential need. But the first thing we'll chat on is the fact that now, even outside of the tech companies, universities are seeing that this is the new way. This is the way of life in music technology and music education and the music industry as a whole. So initially hearing that, John, I'd love to hear your input on them making this grand realization.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you have to zoom out and realize that academia, and specifically, let zoom in and talk about colleges, are a business. So any public, something that's not, government funded, which that's a whole different topic. Let's keep it clean. Let's keep it clean. Colleges are businesses, right? And what do they sell? They sell degrees, but more importantly, the promise of what a degree will do for you, which is better pay, better life, better job, better something, right? Better future in general. That's what they're selling. And if they want to maintain a customer base, it's just like any other business. You have to update your products. So if you have, the musical landscape is changing and you're teaching trombone and how to read music and play hot cross buns or something like that, how many people are going to want to sign up and pay thousands of dollars
Oh, that's the
to
worst college education I've ever heard of in
yeah,
music.
but no, but really, I mean, how many people are going to want to go sign up for that and pay thousands and thousands of dollars to do that? They have to change, or they're going to be changed. And that's just my general thought. Like, it's not surprising that they're updating. The more interesting conversation is what's going to happen now that they're updating. What do we think will happen with them? But yeah, as far as the fact that they're doing it, I mean, you said they're kind of late to the party, but in terms of universities, doesn't that really mean they're right on time?
I guess so. Yeah. Considering, I spent 4 years just learning the Bach. And that was in the 2000s, early 2000s. But anyway, and I remember my experience in college. I remember going initially, my degree was just in classical guitar performance. And I remember going and sitting down in the first semester, going through, and all it was learning other people's music.
Mm-hmm.
The end. That's all it was. It was like, obviously, this is a better technique. Use this, practice this technique with this piece, which was helpful, which was valuable. But at the end of the day, when I ended that semester and I thought about the longevity of what I'm spending my time on, I made the switch, I think, a day after that semester to music theory and composition because I wanted to create. I wanted to do different things. I wanted to learn skills that like I could do something with myself. So, that brings me to this, which is I guarantee you this is a situation where they've seen this problem quite a bit, probably, where they're teaching people, even in production, right? Music production and recording. There are degrees with all of that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine it was a little old at this point and dated. So I wonder how many people going through their existing programs and graduating from the existing programs had the realization that I did, which was I can't use this. Like it's already different. I wasn't taught this stuff. So I applaud the move in that way because it's obvious. I can't tell you how many people even own an amplifier at this point and aren't just completely digital. So it's obvious that it's necessary. The question is, one, are they going to be outpaced? So that's my initial concern is that, okay, they've reformatted their entire education program. They have a new degree. Perfect. I guarantee they had to get approval on all of the course material, all the curriculum
Yeah.
in those materials, and like the actual degree. What are the requirements to get the degree? But you and I know that every day that we hop on and have a conversation, it's different. It's not the same. I bought stuff 6 months ago that I used to create music it's obsolete now. Get rid of it. We see Synth GPT. We talked about that, which is all
Incredible.
VST instruments. Bye bye. It's just one thing now. So for me, I don't know that I'm confident, and I'll say it that way, in their ability to maintain the modern day feeling as they're going through this new program. I almost predict that it's going to stay where it's at. And within a year, they're already going to be dropping the ball on learning new technology in the process. Sure, they might have something in place to make sure they don't do that.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it's a college giving you a curriculum and telling you the requirements to graduate. And if I start on year 1, I don't think those are going to change to my year 4 or whatever it may be. So what do you think? I mean, do you think it's necessary, or I guess the best question is, do you even think it makes sense for a college to come in and say, this is the degree to be in music technology? You're here for 4 years. It's a bachelor's. Enjoy. Or do you think it's just like they're outpaced already?
Yeah, well, to get philosophical for a second, if you imagine just a river that's flowing, anytime if you throw something in the river, what happens? You see it, you throw it, you see it go through the air, and as soon as it hits the water, it starts going with the stream. So what I think is, we talk on this podcast all the time about the pace of change is accelerating. We know that. The type of stuff that people are coming out with daily, weekly, that we talk about all the time, is it's always new, it's always updated, it's always changing stuff. So when a college comes out and says they stake a claim or stake a flag, in the ground somewhere, or in this case in a river, and they say like this is going to be it, by the time they finish saying this is it, it's already drifted down the bank a little bit, and there's something new. There's always new stuff coming in. So I think inherently the structure of college in this case, and especially in the tech sector, and in modern day today, has a disadvantage, because the way that college is structured is with quarters and semesters and lengths of time, blocks of time, right? And in order for you to take a class, take a semester or whatever, you have to commit to this block. And by the time you start the block, we know very well at this point, the technology in 6 months, the technology in 3 months is going to be vastly different in many areas than it was when you started. And all those, things that they threw in the river are going to be way down the river, and there's going to be new water rushing in. And that's the end of the philosophy. So hope you enjoyed that. But yeah, I mean, is there a way to keep up with it? Yes. Does it conflict with traditional college structure? Yes. So either they're going to have to figure out a way to adapt quickly, like maybe week to week or month to month, where they have a constant, like, we'll tell you what we're going to do next month kind of thing, or some kind of an adaptive structure. Or I just don't see how they're going to stay relevant. And I know all this is heading to us eventually talking about, these days kids grow up with cell phones and YouTube and the internet and all that. So why would you even think about going to college if you're aware of how to find information yourself and learn all this stuff? You can learn everything that they would ever teach you in 4 years. I'm pretty sure you can learn it all in a week on your own. And the only, and maybe this is very myopic, and there's a 75-cent word for you. The only way I think they're going to stay relevant is basically by betting that new generations are going to stay in the dark about being able to learn on their own, and the fact that college is an overblown, super expensive product, basically.
Yeah, I mean, if you want proof of that, I think we all see it, which is look at anybody that's young and how they interact with technology. I mean, I have a niece and 2 nephews. The 2 of them are under the age of 10, and seeing them navigate a tablet is just like, whoa, oh man,
yeah.
like you guys know everything. Like it's like my one Wyatt, he'll just be like, oh, this quality is not good. Let me go into the gear. Let me go into quality. There we go. Now it's a crystal 4K. Now we're good. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I think that, we're seeing this world of people being born into this technology growth. For us, I grew up technically like in the 90s. So I was born in the 80s, but I remember all of the 90s. And it's not like we ever had this major boom just back to back, and this major growth that's happening back then. So, we worked with what we had, and it was slow paced in comparison, and it worked. And now kids that are being born and they're growing up are just seeing so many changes every single day, but it's part of their life. So they're used to it and they accept it and they adopt it and they're fine.
Yeah.
So one crazy fact that I saw the other week is that some of the top tech companies have come out and said, by the way, it was like almost 50%. It was almost 50% of the tech companies have come out now and said, we don't require a degree anymore. Like
Yeah.
we're not going to require a degree because of this reason. They know that if people just sit down and they want to code, they'll learn to code. They'll just sit there in their house and listen to the music they like and code what works for them and learn it and just do the work.
Exactly.
So I think that when you're trying to bring in this idea of a music technology degree, it's almost a completely backwards thought, which is like, if you want to be in music technology, just use the technologies, just start to dive in and start to really learn what you're doing. So the other side of this that I want to bring up a conversation on is that if we think about it at the high level, this is a music degree in music technology. Why? As in, why are we still focused on creating music degrees, specifically ones having to do with new modern technology, when what is the trend we're seeing with music technology? It's that you at some point, soon, do not have to be a musician.
Yeah.
Like that's where everything's going. AI, generative AI, playing with samples in something like Splice, where it does AI with all the samples already, matching the key signature perfectly, matching the beats per minute, everything. It does it all for you. So in 5 years, is it even necessary to be a musician with a music degree? Or is technology going to outpace that as well? And we don't even need to understand music to write music. If you want to, cool, great, get into school or get an education. The majority will not. The majority will just kind of be raised in this world of not necessary. So is that a misstep? And then I think the big question with that I'll throw to you is the first rollout is a 4-year degree. So we're talking in 2028, they'll graduate with their music technology degree. Oh, what do they do? It's like, I already am like, no, man, like that is not going to be necessary. You don't have to be a musician. You don't need a degree at that point. You won't need it in a year from now, if not less. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. I just don't see how the college model is going to be relevant too much further into the future, to be honest. Also, think about this: the idea of college and a lot of the best colleges, like the traditional colleges, part of the draw is tradition. It's old stuff, the way we used to do it. Do the things the old way, and just the traditional way. Captain Hook or whoever ate breakfast at this table in 1723, and you're going to do it too. And it's just like, that it doesn't match with a lot of the things, in the tech sector and everything that's moving forward today. It doesn't match. So I just really struggle to see how colleges, as they are, won't continue to struggle to, number one, be relevant, number two, adapt. And in terms of adaptation, I could see them becoming more and more like any online company in terms
Mhm.
of, they just become basically a big database of a source of courses.
Mhm.
And that's it. And like, you don't need to do a semester. You don't need to talk to a teacher. They have the courses, you take the courses, you pay for it. And it's probably more expensive because it comes from a college, but you just take it and move on. And I'm just not sure how else they can continue to compete. And I would imagine that with this new degree, I mean, we'll see, right? But with this new degree, we might have to wait 4 years to see, but we, there might be a flurry of excitement in the beginning just because it's something new, and just because the people who are already in the college system, or at least already in the mindset of thinking they need to go to college, it's something new and exciting for them to go do. So they might have, a bigger than normal enrollment in the beginning, but then it might, in my opinion, it probably will continue to decline over time.
Yeah, and I want to applaud some of the schools out there for sure, like Berkeley, for example. Berkeley has an entire program that you can sign up for on their website digitally. You're not getting a degree technically, but it's Berkeley education for music related degrees. So from there, you pay for that, of course, and you can put on your resume then that you took Berkeley certified courses in a specific area. And it's all from home. You don't have to go, it's just digital. So very similar to what you're saying. So I think that, some of them are seeing that and they're realizing, oh, we probably shouldn't just do a degree. We should just
Yeah.
give them courses, let them pay for the courses. They can put our name on their resume. It's fine. But what I think the big thing for me before I conclude this and ask the final question is that right now, this sounds like they are training musicians, right? They're building musicians and people in the music industry, which is cool. But instead, I think the misstep is they should be developing technologists, not musicians, because the future of music technology is that the people that can code and the people that can build the tools and the technology that we're using, that's where all the money is going to be going. I mean, we see
Yeah.
it with AR and VR. We just had Piano Vision on here. Like having the ability to train people on adapting gameplay or video content within something like a VR headset that's related to music and music education. That stuff I could see because that's obviously necessary if you don't have that skill set when you're 18 and you want to get it. Go to a university if you need to and learn that skill set. So I think that that's really the divider for me. Are they wanting at the end of the day to build musicians with degrees? Or are they wanting to fuel the music technology and build technologists who are going through? But I think the high level question I'll end on for us to give feedback on is it worth it for somebody in our gut, knowing, just disclaimer, if you like this stuff and college education is for you, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean that. I really do. It's just right for some people. It really is. But us personally, John, do you feel like this is a proper step? Do you feel like it's something people should take a look into? Or I guess I'll ask basically, what are your predictions for this rollout in the coming years?
Yeah, so in terms of what people should do, only they can answer that. Everybody's different. Everybody's in a different situation. Everybody has different goals, personality, etc. For me personally, it's a 100% absolutely not. Like it's. I'm not gonna say it's a joke, but like just operating in the real world. Academia is a bubble that operates within the real world. In the real world, part of that is what I said at the beginning, which is a college is a business. Colleges have to have products. They call them degrees, and there's all this other stuff that we can talk about, but they sell degrees,
Mm-hmm.
and people buy it, right? So if I'm looking at it from that lens, then 100% no, there's no way I would ever commit the time and the money to do that. Me personally, right?
Yep.
But I am also a person who has, again, operated in the real world. I know how to learn stuff. I know how to figure out what I need to do to get the skills or talk to the right people or whatever it is. I would never pay for a degree like that. Again, I really don't know why somebody would, unless you, sorry, this is going to sound harsh, but unless you basically don't like doing the work yourself of figuring out what you need to learn, and or having a college degree is valuable to you for whatever reason. I don't know, there could be a number of reasons, but again, that's just my opinion. So only my opinion, not
Shrug of shoulders.
necessarily for anybody else. So predictions, I kind of said the predictions earlier, which is based on the way everything is moving. And when I say everything, I'm talking about the realms of technology, tech sectors, specifically, obviously, music, which we talked about here, and the direction that everything is going in. I really just, unless the fundamental business model changes for colleges and programs like this, like unless they basically stop being a college and stop selling 4-year degrees and do something completely different, I don't see how they're going to be relevant. I don't see how they're going to thrive or survive after a while. It's just going to have to change. I mean, everything's changing. So, I always say that unless you change something, something will change you. So I think, again, unless they change, they're going to be in for a rude awakening when they find that, oh crap, we have one student who signed up this semester. We're losing a bunch of money on this. We have, X amount of overhead because we have all these teachers and all this staff and all these buildings and all this stuff. It's an insane amount of overhead, and I don't see the customers being there for long, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and I'd also say that we've said it a couple times. If you are the person that requires that, like, and I don't say it in a bad way, but like the hand holding of being guided through a process, like obviously that works. That's fine. I would just say at the end of the day, with any college degree, I look at that degree and I say, what value does that add when it's done? Is it, do I have more opportunities? Do I have, the ability to actually work? Like if I want to be a doctor, obviously that makes sense for me to go and get an education, because I just don't think I could legally operate without going through that education. So there are certain degrees that still absolutely make sense. Engineering, like I don't trust a structural engineer that's like, I've watched YouTube for 20 years. I know what I'm doing. But there are these certain degrees where, imagine I get this degree and I go to try to get a job in the music industry with this degree. Does this even matter for the music industry? No. It's not like if I'm like, man, I'm going to go record an album. I don't know. I'm going to go with this guy. He got a 4-year degree in music education or music technology. He's definitely the one I'm going with. No, I'm going to go with the guy that I'm like, his mixes sound great. Like he's been doing this for years. He has worked with some incredible people. That's where I'm going. That's all that matters. The fact that you have a degree is, I don't care about that. But again, it's definitely going to be interesting to see a rollout. I would, just personal, again, just like you said, just personal opinion, it's going to be way cheaper for you to go buy all the dang technology that they're going to teach you and just play with it. That's it. That's, if you really want to get into this world, probably going to cost you like $3,000 total to get like the nicest of everything that you want to play with and have it, if not less. There are free versions of all of it as well that you can learn on. You want to learn how to EQ digitally? Get a free equalizer and just play around with it. Start to learn. Look up YouTube videos. Like it's how the world operates now in that process. So I just looked up a YouTube video today to fix something. What do you know? But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I personally would not go, but again, some people really require that level of in-depth education and process to retain information and gather that. And the other slight red flag that I have over here is that if you haven't already started mastering the world of music technology, then are you really that passionate about music technology? Because it's completely available to you right now. It's 100% available. We talk about music tech every week on the podcast, and most of it is free or very inexpensive to start playing around with and checking out. So, really asking yourself those questions. But again, I'm not coming at all colleges in every way right now saying that stop them now, quit it all. Some people require it, and that's acceptable and that's commendable. So it's just interesting to see where this will go. I think you and I both unanimously, after having this podcast forever, are like, no, not necessary. Just follow the trends, listen to our podcast, and you'll be good. And we'll be good to go. But yeah, we will see. I'd love to hear your comments as well in the comments section on the topic. And we are going to be set to go for next week for our next podcast on the Future Music Podcast here. John, so good to see you as always, my friend. And we will see you, which it's also good to see you and have you hear us, because then we don't see them listening, I guess, in your ears and eyes. It's good to see you, hear you, let you hear us, whatever it might be, on the Future of Music Podcast.